Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over part 2 of the Lovelock Cave. The first part we had Dion take you up to the cave in the event you're thinking about actually going there yourself. He showed you how to get up and get back. He showed you the inside of the cave itself. In this video we're going to talk about the cave and the information and the Paiute folklore, myths, whatever you want to call it, the information that's out there about the cave. There's been a number of YouTube videos on it. There's been a book written by Sarah Winnemucca herself, and there's also the traditional stories that's been handed down over the years in the Paiute tribe. So in the first part of the video we're going to go to Winnemucca, Nevada, and we're going to go to the Humboldt Museum and we're going to speak to Lindsay Myers. And Lindsay's going to tell us all that she knows about the Lovelock Cave and what the museum has had over the years and everything else. So after we do that, we go to the Marzen House Museum in Lovelock, and there we're going to hook up with Kelly, who's going to show us around, show us the exhibit, give us all the information she knows and what she's found out over the year. And she's done quite a bit of investigation into the Lovelock Cave. So I hope you enjoy that part. Okay, we're here at the Humboldt Museum in Winnemucca, Nevada. Supposedly, they had an exhibit before where they had a lot of artifacts of the Lovelock Cave. They may have even had some bones at one time. So we're here to try to find out what they do have or don't have. Here we got some stuff. Shoshone Mike and Chief Winnemucca. Chief Winnemucca was the father of Sarah Winnemucca, who was the first female Indian to write a book. Supposedly she lived from 1844 to 1891. Here we get to the Lovelock Cave artifacts exhibit. First excavated in 1911. There's the cave itself. These are the duck decoys. Now I don't know if these are the original ones out of the cave or these are made similar to those that they found in the cave. Necklace made out of shells. They even made their own duck call. Can you believe that? Arrowheads. Effigy of a rat. Kind of looks like one too, don't it? Guess they use that to gather roast pine nuts. And that's what they ate, the Paiutes. So these two here, exhibits, look at the arrow. These two exhibits here, I believe, is all they have here regarding the Lovelock Cave. Before I leave, I'm going to check and find out if they did in fact have bones here at one time in the exhibit. I heard they had them and they took them downstairs and they only brought them out when people requested to see them. Then I understood that they were sent to the Smithsonian. We never heard of them again. Still haven't seen any bones taken from the cave. This book by Sarah Winnemucca, I have it, and nowhere in the book itself did I find anything where she says anything about giants in the book. She does speak about the red-haired cannibals that they, I guess, pushed into the Lovelock Cave and set fire to it. But I didn't see anything about giants.
Right.
Now, the bones that they found in the cave back in 1911 or whatever, they were normal-sized bones.
Yes.
They weren't anything, based on what I read in Loud and, what's the name, Harrington, their book, when they actually did the excavation, they mentioned that they gave the size of the skulls. And I did some research from other areas of the world, even in France, and they were basically the same size skulls. So
Absolutely, yes.
I heard or read somewhere that when you had them in the basement or something, and you would let people look at them upon request, but they weren't out publicly.
No, they were not on public display ever. And then once that act, I believe it was 2014 that the Native American Remains Act was enforced, we decided to just give them to a local tribe for them to be reburied.
So,
But we do have some pictures. I could show
can
you.
I look at them?
Yeah, I could show you a couple pictures. And they were downstairs. They were in this building downstairs.
Okay, so I guess what I heard about that was correct. But I guess back then,
for
6'6"
era,
would be like almost a giant to those people, wouldn't it?
yeah, definitely. Definitely larger. These are, I believe these should be the photos when they were here. Yes. So here we have, I believe that's part of a rib cage and a skull fragment.
Those were human bones that came out of the cave?
Yes. There's one piece of a skull, and then there's one skull right there.
Is there a reason you don't have the pictures on display, or is that because of the act
Just
itself?
because, yeah, and it's a little
And the
bit,
Indians,
it's a little bit,
did you give them to the Paiutes or another tribe?
it was another tribe, I believe, from out of,
Hello everyone, we are in Lovelock, Nevada, and we're here at the Marzen Museum to try to get some information about those daggone giants up at Lovelock Cave. We're still looking for some evidence, so let's go inside the house or the museum and catch what they got. The Marzen House. I kept saying Marzen, but I guess it's Marzen.
This is the Humboldt Lovelock Cave display. We have the giant pistols. They do have one in the State of Nevada Museum in Carson City that's this size. And they have it on display saying giant. We have
For milling.
multiples. Yep, for milling grade. We have giant bowls.
Now everything in here was taken out of the cave.
Not everything.
Most everything.
So the grinding stones were found throughout the valley.
Okay.
Okay. The duck decoys, I only have photographs of the original duck decoys. Those carbon date 2000 to 2400
Do you
years
have
old.
replicas? Oh, okay.
I have
I see it over
replicas
there.
and I have replicas over there.
Now the originals, were they sent to the Smithsonian
The
or something?
originals went to the Smithsonian. They did send 2 of them back to the state of Nevada for 3 or 4 years in the late 1990s, but then they took them back. I am now petitioning the Smithsonian to try and get 2 more of them back to the state. They're not even on display. The only thing I have in writing about the giants is this, but I can tell you stories. I can tell you what the local natives have told me. I can tell you the research that I've done and the things that I've discovered and what my beliefs are. So, and I am happy to do that. Now that's how they found the duck decoys. So,
Pretty good shape.
the duck decoys, the cave was used by the redheads. The redheads were here before the Paiutes migrated to this area. I know there's an 800 to 1,000 year difference between when the Paiutes came to this valley and when the giants were here. The giants were fighting for they were actually protecting their area. They spoke Paiute. They actually did communicate with them. They traded with them.
Now you keep saying giants. How
Redheads.
big were these people?
Okay, if you think that a Paiute back then was anywhere from 4'8" to 5'3", 5'4".
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Anything 6'2" to 6'8", that was a giant. These guys were tall, pale-skinned, had hair all over their body because they had chest hair, they had leg hair, they had arm hair, they had beards. Paiutes did not have that. So they said they were hairy all over. Anything over 6 foot to them was considered a giant. We are not talking 12,
8 foot,
no.
10 foot,
When
12
they
foot.
show that photograph of the giant with the
Yeah.
2 guys, that was a sideshow attraction.
Those
Yeah.
are
The
actually
giants?
Really small guys.
Yeah,
Were
they weren't giants.
they
The
were
Paiutes were
miniature
smaller.
people. No, the people in the picture that are like up
Yes,
against.
and that wasn't even a real skeleton. They made that.
Ah.
The largest one I've heard of was right around 7 feet.
I heard 12.
We have 7 foot people.
Yeah.
No, not that I can find proof of. Not that I can find anything on.
Now, when they excavated the cave, did they pull out any? I
Okay.
understand there was a shoe or a moccasin that was like
When
a size
they-
19.
The museum in Carson City has on display 3 of the sandals like this. One of them is
Is
just,
there juniper or
those are tule.
tule?
That's a willow or a reed that grows out here. One of them is just this part of the sandal, and they have it sitting on, showing the size of the shoe it would have had to have been on, size of the foot, and that's about this big. And that is on display in the State of Nevada Museum. In the State of Nevada Museum, in part of their display about the Lovelock Cave, they are one of the museums that will talk about the red-headed giants. Winnemucca, even
Which
on
is
their
the Carson
door, it
City?
says
Is
don't.
that what you said?
That's in Carson City, State of Nevada Museum. And they have a timeline for everything, for the cave.
Okay.
So the first guy that did the dig, Mr. Loud, he was a security guard. He wasn't even an archaeologist. I
thought the University of Berkeley sent him out there
No, that was
after.
Mr. Harrington.
He's
The
the
No, I
dig
thought
guy-
Loud went out first. No,
1912, when Loud went out,
Yeah.
Mr. Loud was a security guard.
I didn't know that. I
told
thought.
Berkeley.
Berkeley sent him. They didn't have an archaeologist available, so they sent him.
Weird.
I found letters in Berkeley's archive, back and forth between him and the archaeology department, talking about, I'm going to need $12 for the next 3 months.
Was that
of
Harrington or
supplies.
Loud?
That was Loud.
That's what I was going to say. I've seen those
The letters?
Letters, yeah.
Did you read the letter that says?
Yeah, he had like $13 left.
Yes. Well, there's the
before-
one letter that he wrote about how the natives told him about the story of the giants, and their reply was, oh, they must have found skeletons and made up the story. That's the first time I can find in writing where the archaeologists have denied it.
Well, now, I also read the book from Sarah
Life Among the
Winnemucca,
Piutes, yes.
and in nowhere in that book does she speak about these red-haired cannibals being giants. She did say they were red-haired and they were cannibals, but nothing about they were super
I
big.
think
No,
the giant
we're
part of
not-
the story exaggerated.
I think the giant part of the story is exaggerated because some people are trying to say that they're Nephtiles,
Well, I mean,
and they want them to be
it
giants.
should.
As far as why they call them giants, because they were over 6 feet tall, and to a short Paiute way back then, maybe it appeared to them as a giant.
But then why wasn't there anything in the Paiute folklore
Because
that says these guys
There
were
is.
giants?
Talk to the local colony. They call them giants.
They call them giants.
The local colony called them giants.
Oh.
But wouldn't there be some
Cannibalistic
evidence of
giants.
that? Wouldn't there be some bones? Would there be some?
Yeah, if the
Documentation?
archaeologists didn't get rid of them
The
all,
Smithsonian's got them.
it's all gone. The archaeologists got rid of any proof. All of the skeletons are gone. The
Why
only
weren't there
skeleton
pictures
I
taken?
know where it is there might be one in Berkeley.
Like the Smithsonian has everything.
Everything.
doesn't it?
And the Smithsonian has admitted they destroyed thousands of skeletons. And the Smithsonian doesn't display any of it. It's all in storage.
Yeah, I think the
they
act
at least
made
put
them
them
give the bones back to the tribes and what have you.
That's
For
why
burial
the
and that
skeleton
sort of
in
stuff.
Winnemucca was given back, because when it was found with a Paiute skull, and if they DNA test it to the local tribe, then the bodies have to be released to the tribe so that they can be ceremonially buried and put at rest.
What about the? I feel like I've seen a picture with hair fragments on it. Was that maybe not
They
specifically?
did
from
find
here?
skulls with hair fragments on it, but the archaeologists say that when the hair is exposed to oxygen after it's been buried, it will turn red. That's where the red hair comes from. But there is red hair woven in the dress that Sarah Winnemucca wore, which was a family heirloom.
There's-
was
Is that
passed
dress
down
on
for
display
years.
anywhere?
There's
I
red
have not been able to
hair.
find it.
There's red hair in the war bonnet that I saw of some of like Chief Lame Deer, that was one of the last chiefs in the Winnemucca area, and I noticed because it looks out of place.
Yes.
It's all feathers, but then there's also these random bits of hair, and I'm like, I wonder why you would do that or what kind of hair it is.
Maybe it came from him. I know the
That's
dress
really
because
strange.
Sarah Winnemucca claims that the hair in the dress.
She was
and
actually
was a
wearing it on her
family-
book
yeah,
cover,
I've got
wasn't it?
another photograph of her right here, but it's not
It
colored.
looks dyed, like artificially colored. But if it was a war bonnet from like 100 years ago, then how would they?
If the dress is from hundreds of years ago, how would they know?
Who knows? Yeah, that's weird.
If they were being used on something like that to roll, yes.
That would be like
Okay.
this kind of situation.
But when we go out here, I'll show you a different grinding
Do you
stone.
think that they're not used for this?
I have a grinding stone that a chunk of it is missing, but if it was stood upright, it would be this tall. So how big would that have to be used in it?
Well, my question is, how strong would you have to be to hold it?
Well, they were a lot stronger. I mean, they were used on.
Not only would you have to be taller, but like
Yes.
way
Bulkier.
bigger. Just way bigger.
And if they were descendants of, say, they came across Bering Straits, say they came from Vikings, they were all bigger than us. I have had one gentleman that came through that said he knew an archaeologist that was dealing with one of the last ones that was found by, is it Spirit Cave by Fallon? By Grimes Point, somewhere over there in Fallon, that they DNA tested that actually ties back to ancient Japanese.
Really?
Yes.
That's
But I
wild.
have no proof of that. I just have this gentleman telling me that. I get a lot of stories.
Okay,
I
let
get a lot of
me
stories.
cut to the point. Based on, you know more probably than anybody about what's going on at the cave and everything. What do you think? Do you think there was actually giants?
I think there were
Or just large
I think there was
humans.
a race of, there were people already here that had pale skin, freckles, red hair, and were over 6 feet tall.
Where did they come from, though?
I think they came either from the Vikings or across during the Bering Straits, and they've been here for a long time because they're all over this country.
Yeah, I
You
think
find
that's
stories
what I
of
heard
them
too.
all over this country.
Uh,
Now, there's another thing. The decoys, the original decoys, are not made the exact same as the ones that the Paiutes make. These ones were made a lot tighter, and there is a difference between these decoys and the ones that the Paiutes make. Finer in the making.
They might have like seen them and tried to make them.
Well, they did
didn't
work with them.
learn. Yeah.
They talked to them. They communicated with them. They traded with them.
Right. So they could have had.
Literally, the war was over land, and the fact that according to the local colony, the local Paiutes, they were cannibalistic. They would kill them, they would eat their own dead, and they would eat the dead of the Paiutes. And they did not believe in eating human. And that's why they fought with them. I think the giants fought with the Paiutes because they were fighting for their land. We say giants because that's what we always hear is the red-headed giants. If the redheads were fighting for their land, if we're protecting their land, they're gonna fight.
So there you have it. No evidence. Okay, so far, nothing. Big zilch. No evidence at all of any giants, no evidence of red-haired cannibals either. So after going to Winnemucca, after going to Lovelock, and even going to Carson City to see the Nevada State Museum, where they did have one artifact, which was the moccasins that we showed you in the film, we next go to Reno to the National Historical Society. There we found they actually had a book, the original book by Loud and Harrington in 1929 called Lovelock Cave, where they document everything they did during the excavation. In that book, I found nothing that indicated the bones were of abnormal size. Matter of fact, what they did say about the bones, they were normal size. Now, they also had some pictures in the back of the book that I had never seen before. And I took some pictures of those pictures, and we're going to show you those next, as well as a brief video of the different books and manuscripts we found there. There was archaeological studies from Berkeley and some other sources I think you'll be interested in seeing. So we'll take a look at that and see what we come up with, and we'll be back. Okay, we're at the Nevada Historical Society. Gonna do a little bit of research on the Lovelock Cave and see if we can find any information here.
So the bulk of it is her research that she did, because she wrote a bunch of articles for Herald's Club for their section they had in the paper. So I kind of skipped those just because I wasn't sure that would be of interest. But this first box contains some of her personal correspondence. So that seems like maybe that would be of interest. When working with the box, we just ask that you take out one folder at a time.
try again. So far, zilch, nothing. We've pretty much done our due diligence on this subject. And there is a couple other little things I want to go over here with you that we found. But as you can see, we went to 1, Winnemucca Humboldt Museum, 2, Lovelock, Nevada, Marzen Museum, 3, Lovelock Cave itself, twice, 4th, Nevada State Museum, and lastly, we went to the Nevada Historical Society, which is located in Reno. You've seen all what we found so far in the video about all that. A couple other articles here I want to go over real quickly with you. None of these came up with anything. This one here, the red-haired giants, it was published in the Humboldt Sun in December 2010 by Dr. Mark Hall. He says in here, despite what conspiracy theorists argue, there were no red-haired giants at the Lovelock Cave. And you can read the article yourself. That's just all I was going to give on that. John Reed, in 1948, turned his collection, or his family did, over to the Historical Society. He collected artifacts from the cave and I guess he did some archaeological work himself, I don't know. But anyway, when the Historical Society got it, they sent the bones down to Las Vegas to get interpreted, as well as everything else he had in his collection. Sheila Brooks, Dr. Brooks, and her husband Richard Brooks did some checking on the collection themselves. And they said one of his great finds was a skeleton found about 20 miles south of Lovelock, Nevada, showing that the body was exactly 7 feet 7 inches tall. Over the years, the skeletal portions of the Reed collection was apparently misplaced. How convenient. That's what they came up with. Then you got other articles like this one here, The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America. They say a piece of evidence that remains on site until this day is a giant handprint embedded on a boulder inside Lovelock Cave. Really? We've been to the cave twice. I know Dion's lighting wasn't that great, but it was good enough that you could see pretty much what was in the cave and the walls, the ceiling, and everything else. And in nowhere in his video did I see any giant handprint. So if there was one, and if any of you know of one, have evidence to it, please leave a comment in comment below, because I'll go back and verify whether or not it's true or not to clear up this whole thing once and for all, because we didn't see one. You got article here, February 12, 2023, in The Archaeologist, The Ancient Giants of Nevada and the Mystery of Lovelock Cave. Again, no proof. Got an article here from the Nevadagram, June 2nd. I don't know if you can see that. Let me hold it up a little bit for you. June 2nd, 2016. Red-haired giant cannibals at Lovelock Cave. Nothing. Nothing at all. Dr. Brooks, again, said some of the bones were from cows, not giants. The human bones appeared to be the remains of Indians, maybe 6 feet tall, but not that big. And then lastly, I'm going to quickly, you've all heard me talking about Loud and Harrington's book of 1929 about Lovelock Cave. Well, in that book, we had the original book at the Historical Society, so I took it right out of the book. There was nothing mentioned in that book about giants. or red-haired giants, or red-haired cannibal giants. It does put down everything they did while they was in the cave and digging the bones and the artifacts out. But nowhere in the book does it say that. Now, if they would have found some large bones, they would have said so. Okay, for those of you who said, well, what about the people that was there before? That's true. That could be. That's the only place and the only way that we can come to the conclusion that maybe there were giant bones. Maybe the first people, those guys that went in first to get the bat guano, maybe they, when they found some bones, maybe they found a big skull and kept it for themselves. I don't know. But even they didn't say anything about giants. So, in conclusion, let's think clearly, is the cave that old? Is it 5,000 years old? And if it is, then maybe we missed something. A lot of things can be lost along the way. So there you have it. We looked into everything we could think of. We went to places that should have this information on file, the museums and whatnot. Couldn't come up with anything there. We hear that possibly there's some bones taken from Lovelock Cave that's in the Smithsonian, but again, none of those bones have been made out to be giants. Kelly over at Lovelock says there may be a bone up in University of California, Berkeley. I don't know. But we haven't found any bones, other pictures. In Winnemucca, we got pictures of a skull and some rib bones that they once had that came out of the cave. But they turned that all over to the Indians for proper burial. So there were some bones in the cave, we know that. But we don't know for sure that any of them were giants. Hope you liked the video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you down the road. Thank you.